for somebody who owns a movie theater to feel like going to the movies is a treat, it is a treat, because even now, I never watch the movies in our theater because I'm always working. My name is Judy Kim, and I'm the owner of the Gardena Cinema, which is a vintage single-screen movie theater located in Gardena, California. This theater was built in 1946, and my parents purchased it and closed escrow in 1976. It was originally built as a first-run theater and eventually evolved into a second-run theater. And when my parents bought it, they saw a demographic that was being neglected, which was the Hispanic population, a Spanish-speaking language as their primary language, and they decided to change formats from English-speaking language films to Spanish-speaking language films. The truth was, at the time, people were in an uproar in the neighborhood. They didn't like the fact that the theater was changing from English language to Spanish language. Even the previous owner actually came to the theater, and he said to my father, "What are you doing to my theater?" And my father said, "It's not your theater anymore." So my dad kind of understood that he was the owner of the theater now, and he got to call the shots. He was living his American dream, my mom's American dream. It was very exciting. The place would be packed. My dad, because he's an immigrant and he wasn't really aware of the laws that were imposed here, he just kept selling tickets until there was no more room to sell tickets. The fire marshal came in and said, you're only supposed to sell tickets the number of seats that you have. So my dad the next day would count the tickets, and then he would tear it and cut it off so that when you pulled out the last ticket, that's when we would say sold out. So those were very exciting times for my parents. They were young and I was a kid, and it was fun. But that lasted up until Mexico suffered a financial crisis with their currency. And as a result, we ended up having to go back to English-speaking language films. And by the time I got out of college and came back home to help my parents, my brother and I had suggested to our parents that we should probably go first run. And my mom agreed, and she felt that there was a little more prestige in showing first-run films. So we showed first-run films starting in 1995, 96, around that era. My father's 83 years old, and he really wants to retire. He doesn't want me to, he wants me to spend time with him until, during his twilight years. And he wants to sell the theater. And so we've put the theater on the market for sale, but there's no buyers at this point. And even if there is a buyer, I think we've come to accept the fact that if we sell the theater, it won't remain a theater. There's a high likelihood that the theater will become demolished and make way for a new development. For me, going to the movies was a real big treat. People are probably going to think that's really funny because for somebody who owns a movie theater to feel like going to the movies is a treat, it is a treat, because even now I never watch the movies in our theater because I'm always working. I'm constantly working. So people ask me, "Oh, you must watch a lot of movies here." And I'm like, "No, I don't watch any movies because I'm constantly working." They should definitely go to the movie theaters because you're not going to be able to see a movie on a 35-foot screen at home. And it's not like you can pause it. So there's something, it's like going to a live concert. Like if you miss that performance, you miss it. I would say go to the movies, not just because, to support movie theaters, but also because it is a different experience. It is impactful. You will remember that experience much better than if you just watch something on your phone or on TV. By going to the theaters, you're kind of continuing that support of filmmakers too, because I always tell filmmakers I really appreciate them, and I tell them keep making more films because we need that culture different perspectives to be reflected and then shared with everybody, just like we have at the cultural day in middle school. It's important that because film becomes our cultural day as adults. So we really need to continue supporting that for filmmaking and for just the experience of watching films.